In today's highly interconnected global economy, businesses are constantly expanding their operations across borders. While this presents numerous growth opportunities, it also exposes them to a complex web of legal risks. Understanding and effectively managing these legal considerations is crucial for the long-term success and sustainability of any global enterprise. The multifaceted nature of legal risks in global business. Regulatory compliance. One of the most fundamental legal challenges in global business is regulatory compliance. Different countries and regions have their own unique sets of laws and regulations governing various aspects of business operations. For example, in the European Union, the General Data Protection Regulation (GDPR) has strict rules regarding the collection, storage, and use of personal data. A global business operating in the EU must ensure that it complies with these regulations or face hefty fines. Similarly, environmental regulations can vary widely. Some countries may have stringent requirements for waste disposal and emissions in industries such as manufacturing and energy, while others may have more lenient standards. A company that fails to adapt its operations to meet these diverse regulatory demands can find itself in legal hot water. Intellectual property rights. Protecting intellectual property (IP) rights becomes significantly more complex in a global context. A business's trademarks, patents, and copyrights may not be automatically recognized or protected in all countries. For instance, a software company that has developed a unique algorithm in the United States may find that its IP rights are not as well safeguarded in some emerging economies, where IP laws may be less developed or enforcement may be weak. There could be issues with counterfeiting, unauthorized use of patented technology, or infringement of copyrighted materials. In addition, different countries may have different processes for registering and enforcing IP rights, making it essential for global businesses to have a comprehensive IP strategy that takes into account these regional differences. Contractual obligations and disputes. Cross-border contracts introduce a host of legal considerations. The laws governing contracts can vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction. A contract that is valid and enforceable in one country may not hold up in another. For example, the interpretation of contract terms, liability limitations, and the remedies available in case of a breach can differ significantly. When a dispute arises between two parties from different countries, the choice of law and the forum for dispute resolution become critical. International arbitration is a popular method for resolving cross-border contractual disputes, as it can provide a more neutral ground compared to litigating in the courts of one of the parties. However, even arbitration proceedings are subject to the laws of the jurisdiction where the arbitration is taking place, adding another layer of complexity. Taxation. Taxation is another area rife with legal risks in global business. Different countries have different tax systems, rates, and rules regarding the taxation of income, capital gains, and corporate profits. Transfer pricing, which involves setting prices for goods and services transferred between different entities within a multinational company, is a particularly complex area. Tax authorities around the world are increasingly cracking down on what they perceive as aggressive transfer pricing strategies that are used to shift profits to low-tax jurisdictions. A global business must navigate these complex tax regulations to avoid tax disputes, penalties, and reputational damage. Identifying and assessing legal risks. Conducting thorough due diligence. The first step in managing legal risks is to identify them through comprehensive due diligence. Before entering a new market or engaging in a cross-border transaction, a business should research the local legal landscape. This includes studying the country's commercial laws, employment regulations, environmental laws, and any industry-specific regulations. For example, a pharmaceutical company looking to expand into a new country should investigate the local regulations regarding drug approval, clinical trials, and marketing. Due diligence also involves assessing the political stability of the country, as political unrest can lead to sudden changes in laws and regulations that can impact the business. Engaging local legal experts. Hiring local legal counsel is invaluable in understanding the nuances of operating in a foreign market. Local lawyers are familiar with the local legal system, the interpretation of laws by local courts, and any unwritten rules or customs that may affect the business. They can provide advice on structuring business operations in a legally compliant manner, drafting contracts that are enforceable under local laws, and navigating any regulatory hurdles. For instance, when a foreign company is setting up a subsidiary in a new country, a local legal expert can guide them through the process of registering the company, obtaining the necessary licenses and permits, and ensuring compliance with local corporate governance requirements. Strategies for mitigating legal risks. Developing a comprehensive legal strategy. A global business should have a well-thought-out legal strategy that encompasses all aspects of its operations. This strategy should be flexible enough to adapt to changes in the legal environment. It should include clear guidelines on compliance, risk management, and dispute resolution. For example, the company should establish procedures for regularly monitoring and updating its compliance with relevant laws and regulations. The legal strategy should also define how the company will handle potential legal disputes, whether through negotiation, mediation, arbitration, or litigation. Implementing robust compliance programs. Robust compliance programs are essential for ensuring that the business adheres to all relevant laws and regulations. These programs should include regular training for employees on legal requirements, especially those related to their specific job functions. For example, employees in the finance department should be trained on anti-money laundering and financial reporting regulations, while those in the human resources department should be well-versed in employment laws. The company should also have internal controls in place to monitor compliance and a system for reporting any potential violations. Leveraging technology for risk management. Technology can play a significant role in managing legal risks. Compliance management software can help businesses track and ensure compliance with a wide range of regulations. It can automate tasks such as monitoring regulatory changes, scheduling employee training, and generating compliance reports. Legal analytics tools can analyze large volumes of data, such as past legal cases and regulatory decisions, to identify trends and potential risks. For example, a multinational company can use legal analytics to predict how a change in a particular country's tax laws may impact its operations and develop strategies to mitigate the risks. Establishing clear and precise contracts. Contracts are the cornerstone of any business relationship, and in a global context, they need to be even more carefully drafted. Contracts should clearly define the rights and obligations of each party, taking into account the legal requirements of the jurisdictions involved. They should also include provisions for dispute resolution, choice of law, and any limitations of liability. For example, a contract between a global manufacturing company and its suppliers should clearly state the quality standards of the goods to be supplied, the delivery schedules, the payment terms, and what will happen in case of a breach of contract. Dispute resolution in global business. Negotiation and mediation. Negotiation and mediation are often the first steps in resolving cross-border disputes. These methods are generally less adversarial and more cost-effective compared to litigation. In negotiation, the parties directly engage with each other to try to reach a mutually acceptable solution. Mediation involves the use of a neutral third party who facilitates the communication between the parties and helps them find common ground. For example, if two global companies have a dispute over the quality of goods supplied under a contract, they may first try to resolve the issue through negotiation. If that fails, they may opt for mediation, which can preserve the business relationship between the parties. Arbitration. Arbitration is a popular method for resolving international disputes. It offers several advantages, such as the ability to choose arbitrators with expertise in the relevant area of law and business, a more streamlined and private process compared to litigation, and the enforceability of arbitration awards in many countries through international treaties, such as the New York Convention. When parties agree to arbitration in their contract, they are essentially agreeing to have their dispute resolved by an arbitration tribunal instead of going to court. The arbitration award is generally final and binding on the parties. Litigation. Litigation should generally be considered as a last resort in cross-border disputes. Pursuing litigation in a foreign court can be complex, time-consuming, and expensive. The parties may face challenges such as unfamiliar legal procedures, language barriers, and potential biases in the local legal system. However, in some cases, litigation may be the only option, especially if the dispute involves issues of public policy, or if the parties have not agreed to arbitration or other alternative dispute resolution methods. In conclusion, managing legal risks in global business is a complex but essential task. By understanding the various legal considerations, identifying and assessing risks, implementing effective mitigation strategies, and having a clear approach to dispute resolution, global businesses can navigate the challenging legal landscape and position themselves for longer-term success in the international marketplace.